Hello and welcome to People and Power. I'm Summer El-Shahat. Today we're looking at a controversial new oil law which could either make or break Iraq. The scramble for Iraq's black gold by the world's most powerful oil multinationals will hit fever pitch when the law is implemented. Supporters of the new law say it will assist in nation building and the healing of the violent divisions which exist amongst Iraq's different regions and ethnic groups. Those supporting the new law include both the British and American governments who have been active in shaping it. But those opposing it say that instead of nation building, it in fact will lead to nation busting if the oil revenue is not divided equally amongst Iraq's different regions, and particularly if most of the revenue goes to foreign investors. Chris Frederick investigates the controversy surrounding this new law.
That oil belongs to the Iraqi people. And the government has the responsibility to be good stewards of that valuable asset and valuable resource.
That the oil revenues, which people falsely claim we want to seize, be put in a trust fund for the Iraqi people.
With 115 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, and it's estimated at least another 100 billion barrels of undiscovered oil, Iraq is a vital source of the future of the world's energy supply. Some of the cheapest, easiest to produce, and highest quality premium oil on this planet is to be found in Iraq. That's why the West wants it.
Oil drives the world's economy. For Iraq, oil is the nation's greatest national asset. But it comes at a tremendous price. After 4 years of violence with daily kidnappings and killings, it's the oil that offers Iraq and its people their best hope for future economic recovery. A controversial new petroleum law, recently approved by the Iraqi cabinet, promises to unify the country. But critics tell People and Power of their fears the law could spark the exact opposite, the breakup of Iraq as a nation-state.
The fact that the law was not published to have a free debate, to enhance its product as a result of discussions and debate, that has been denied.
The new oil law will, I think, enable Iraq, in whatever way it decides to start investing in its oil industry again.
Oil mixes money, science, and blood. It's always been that way, and it always will.
Basra, Iraq's second city. Bustling street markets are a stone's throw from some of the country's biggest oil fields. It's here that opposition to Iraq's oil law is at its most vociferous, led by Basra's oil trade unions.
We warn foreign companies and foreign investors, in particular American companies, not to enter our oil fields, never mind getting into production. One of the main reasons for the invasion of Iraq by the Americans and their allies was to control the oil of the Middle East, bearing in mind Iraq's huge reserves.
The law would see oil revenues being shared between Iraq's 18 provinces. Production sharing agreements, or PSAs, between the government and foreign oil companies would be a key feature. These contracts can last 20 years or more. Critics say that PSAs will give foreign investors a disproportionate share of Iraq's future oil revenues.
To be honest, I think the British government was talking about production sharing agreements with the Iraqis before we stepped foot on the scene.
Dan Witt is president of the International Tax and Investment Centre. He advises emerging economies, countries like Iraq, on seeking inward investment.
Well, I think the oil law is going to make very clear that that oil is the resource of the Iraqi people, and it's sharing, underline sharing, production sharing agreements will share profits with the people. I mean, it's easy to villainize big oil, big banks, global companies. There's a consensus among all parties that there will be a role for the international investor in Iraq. The real question is, how can you create enough comfort for an investor to put money into Iraq when you don't have the legal, regulatory, and fiscal infrastructure? So that's the challenge.
What you want is to structure a law that aligns the interest of the oil company with the state. We don't doubt that the oil belongs to the people of Iraq. What we want is a law that encourages the international contractor to do what is in the interest of the people of Iraq. And that means giving them a risk-adjusted return and incentives.
What this law is designed to do is to fundamentally restructure Iraq's oil industry.
Greg Muttit of the Campaign Group platform, whose research on the oil industry is widely respected and quoted, believes that the long-term contracts with foreign companies will harm the interests of the Iraqi people.
Iraqi oil has been, oil production and development have been within the public sector since the early 1970s. This law would fundamentally turn that around and revert to a situation where development is controlled primarily by multinational companies.
Tariq Shafiq is one of Iraq's most respected technocrats, an oil grandee, who was one of the founders of the Iraq National Oil Company in 1964. He was lead author of the oil law, but is now saddened and concerned at how his draft has been changed for the worse.
It is an oil resource that belongs to the whole nation. If you leave that decision-making to the separate entities in Iraq and not put it in the center, now leaving it to different approaches by the different region would tend to disunify, it would tend to disintegrate the decision-making and the practices, and it would create unnecessary competition between these different areas.
Oil for the people of Iraq is extremely important. It has become like a national pride. For years now, people have been given this promise that they have all this wealth, that this will be, together with the Tigris and Euphrates, it will bring you prosperity. But in fact, oil has been rather a curse. People think that this has brought them nothing but trouble.
Issam al-Chalabi is a former Iraqi oil minister and has grave concerns about the likely effects of the new law on his country.
This oil law, with the way it has been written, ambiguous, unclarity, and it is certainly, it would cause wide different interpretations among the people. So that will make it extremely difficult for anybody to implement. Hence, I think if it is accepted, the way it has been put, certainly it will not be a new beginning to the betterment of the people. On the contrary, I think it is only adding fuel to the fire.
The fact that the law was not published to have a free debate, to enhance its product as a result of discussions and debate, that has been denied.